My name is Liz Brown. I'm 69 and a single-age pensioner. At age 55, I invested $58,000 in Janet and Graham's Coolah home-based retirement lifestyle. I secured a cabin, land and my future.
I'm Jeff McMillan and I'm 72 years of age and I'm semi-retired.
And I'm Christine, his wife, and I'm here in the house in the caravan park at Coolah, halfway between Mudgee and Gunnedah.
Hi, my name is David. I invested in an existing house at Coolah Caravan Park back in 2014.
My plan was to motorhome for some years with rental income from my cabin giving me a small income. With only 16 years of super, I will never be able to enter the normal housing market, but I believed that spending half my savings for a share at Coolah brought me the security I needed. It was a lifestyle with like-minded people in a safe and secure environment.
At that time, I was having to cope with the failure of my marriage. Stopping at Coolah was just an accident because I needed a place to stop. But at happy hour, I met many of the residents and they were a very happy bunch. And I learned about the concept of their home base. What appealed to me was firstly that I could afford to buy a small house with my superannuation money. There was no way that I could live in Newcastle or Sydney or anywhere along the coast because the cost of property was just exorbitantly high. The amount of money that I invested was $124,000. Secondly, if my marriage could be repaired or saved, I'd be able to rent the house to tourists through the caravan park and be able to just treat it as an investment or income earning investment.
7 or 8 years ago, we were running a business in Dubbo. A friend of ours who was working here, he was one of the builders, he told us about what was happening here and we thought, oh well, we'll come in and have a look and see what's going on.
Our understanding was that we would own the house and land and we could treat it like normal real estate. But now that we were on site, we started picking up the vibe that all was not well. The residents were not at all happy.
The directors appeared to be good people, but that proved to be wrong. In reality, they were running a scam aimed at vulnerable grey nomads with limited funds. Obviously, if you live in a caravan park, you have limited resources, and they took advantage of that. There were many things that went wrong, like lack of planning, lack of repair work, and I found out that most of the houses that had been built by the directors had been done by unlicensed builders and tradesmen, and that there were lots of things that were wrong. In fact, one of the ladies here has a house which has been condemned by a structural engineer from Dubbo. He had a report of 92 pages of defects, and yet nothing was done about it. The directors just ignored it and said that you'd have to claim on your own insurance, and of course that wasn't practical because all of the failures related to the building, the construction. The piers were totally inadequate and failed, and the house was moving all over the place and cracks appearing everywhere, doors that couldn't be shut, etc., etc. When this was brought to the attention of the director who had managed the construction, he just said, well, it's your problem. And so here's a lady who was, I think she was 79 at the time. She, with no building experience, was left with a lemon, a bad lemon.
I started wondering, how did we own the land? And after a lot of research, including spending some time with the local general manager of the local council, we worked out that it was done by company title. But it's only now that I find out that company title doesn't really give us title to the land.
About 3.5 years ago, we got advice from a solicitor. He said that the Constitution was a very bad Constitution with lots of contradictions and errors in it, and that it was open to fraud. On that advice, we contacted the directors and explained to them our concerns and asked if they could get their solicitor and our solicitor to talk and resolve the issues, and so that it could be repaired and we could save the companies. As it was, the company that owned the property had no influence over the management of the company, which is done as a separate thing, controlled totally by the directors.
And it was decided that we should ask the directors to give us access to the company's books. They refused to do that, so that resulted in us launching a Section 247A application in the Supreme Court, which was an inspection of books order. Again, the directors just dug their heels in and refused to supply anything. After 2 days in the Supreme Court, the judge called everyone into the room and said, "Look, this is a warning. It's apparent that the books for the company have not been done properly, and what has been done is misleading. In any case, it's most likely that to a large extent the books don't exist. So you're in a situation where you're wanting the right to inspect the books, and I'm of the opinion that the books will not tell you anything you need to know. So the whole case becomes futile." Based on what the judge had to say at the time, the directors immediately turned around and applied and had the company put into voluntary administration. And then they went through what is generally referred to as a Phoenix trading scheme and very quickly sold all the real estate to themselves in a different company. At that stage, we changed lawyers, and we've now formed the opinion that the Corporations Act, ASIC, fair trading are absolutely useless. There's no penalty in Australia, no effective penalty in Australia for white-collar crime, and the directors are simply have been getting away with it.
I'm absolutely shattered in losing that security. Everything promised by contract has been taken away.
It's been a long, hard battle that has affected all of the residents. We're all on tablets for stress, and it's been a difficult time.
I am now stuck owning a property that I cannot sell, and I do not have enough funds to buy back into housing. I am devastated that half of my life savings, at best, is in serious jeopardy and quite likely lost, as any value disappears in legal costs. There is no good ending to this, as damage done is irreparable, but all the same, this madness has to stop.
The idea we were sold is fundamentally good, and that's what attracted us to the idea. The idea was that we could own our own piece of dirt with our own house on it, live as permanents in a caravan park and have security of tenure. When it was time to move out, then we could sell it like you'd sell normal real estate, and there'd be something come back so that we could leave the leftovers to our kids. That was what we were sold. We reckon that's a good idea, and we still think it's a good idea. The main benefit is that we have a situation where it does yield low-cost housing. If you can live as a permanent in a caravan park and you're living with like-minded people, it doesn't have to cost you $1 million. It can be done quite cheaply, and affordably, which raises the option of this as a good housing solution for older people, and it's probably a housing solution that could be made to work for younger people as well. We are intent on trying to salvage the situation and put it together the way it should have been put together in the first place, so that we do get those benefits that we're after when we moved here. If we can achieve that, it actually has major social benefits, because it creates a way for grey nomads like us to establish ourselves with a base, with a house, with ownership of something that we can come back to, and give us a retirement nest egg or some security in our retirement.